Hello and welcome for a new video on the Vijnana Bhairava tantra. Today we are going to see two verses 39 and 40, starting a new series of experiences around sound. We have seen already sound with the uchara of the mantra, the sounding and the elevation, the rising up through the mantra, and here again to the mantra, with the mantra and through it. So first, verse 39 in Sanskrit. Om praṇavādisamuccārāt plutānte śūnyabhāvānāt śūnyayā parayā śaktyā śūnyatām bhairavi. O bhairavi, the goddess. Here the god is speaking to the goddess. Bhairava is speaking to Bhairavi. He shall go, eti, to emptyness, śūnyatām, śaktyā parayā, by the supreme energy, śūnya, which is empty, that is, which is empty of all content, free of all content. How? śūnyabhāvānāt, by evoking, by actualizing the emptiness which is always already there in the background, but which is usually overlooked. And bhavana is that. Bhavana, actualizing, means making something real that is already there, but to which one does not usually pay attention, which is usually just like the things that go by at the edge of our attention, and we do not really pay attention to that. And so it's there, but it's not really there. It's there, but it does not give its fruit, its full fruit. And here the main instance of such an overlooking is awareness. Awareness, which is the most obvious, but which do not give its full fruit for us. For me, I do not give the full fruit of me to me because I do not pay attention to me. I am there, I'm always already there. It's always already the case that I am awareness, because without awareness, outside awareness, nothing is possible. Awareness and experience are, in fact, the same thing. So awareness is always already there, but awareness, consciousness, has also that mysterious power to distract from herself, to go away, to shy away from herself. And thus, I am, but I'm not really. And I am aware, but I am not aware of awareness. And thus, the fruit, the full fruit of awareness, which is infinite bliss, infinite joy, infinite goodness, Shivam Satyam Sundaram, is not there. So that's the reason why a practice is necessary, why an inner life is necessary, and why those teachings are necessary. Because on the one hand, consciousness, the real me, the me that is more me than myself, is always already there. But on the other hand, I do not pay attention to myself, to that background, that source, to that light that shines upon everything. So, śūnyabhāvānāt, by actualizing that emptiness, that awareness, that empty awareness. Plutānte, at the extended end, praṇavādisamuccārāt, by fully rising through mantras that express especially the fullness of awareness, like the pranava. The pranava is Om, but as the commentator Shivopadhyaya tells us here, there are several sorts of pranavas. There is the Vedic pranava, which is the most well known, which is Om, but there are also other pranavas like Hum or Hrim for the goddess, Hum for Bhairava, and so on. So we should just say, vibrate Om or whatever, any other version of it, Hum, Hrim, Aim, etc. But this is not so important, so we can take Om. Om, and we should especially put our attention at the end of that mantra, of that vibration, more and more subtle vibration, until we get to a vibration so subtle that is this empty of all gross vibrations. You know maybe that in Kashmir Shaivism there is a whole teaching about vibration, Spandakarika, Spanda Shastra, the teaching of vibration, Spanda. And that teaching distinguishes between two types of vibrations. The Vishesha Spanda, the particular, the differentiated vibrations, like the particular movements, like the movement of my hand, the movement of my eyes, the movement of my mouth, the movements of my attention going here and there like a bee. And there in the background there is the source vibration, the Samanya Spanda, the Pratisthita Spanda, the unmoving vibration, the background, the universal vibration, the common vibration. So it's like the sea and its waves. There is the sea, the total movement, and there are the differentiated, the special particular movements of this and that wave. And here, what we try to do is to go from the differentiated movements that our attentions is usually attached to the total vibration, the background vibration, the universal vibration, which is awareness, of course. So it's that vibration which is empty of those particular vibrations, particular movements. So we try to go to that emptiness. Empty does not mean that it's nothing. Empty means that it is an awareness, an attention which is free from those particular differentiated movements. It is free from the movements of attention. It is not disturbed by it. It is not disturbed by movements. That is why in Kashmir Shaivism, when we meditate, usually we meditate with open eyes, open senses. So here we meditate, we do that, we open awareness. We go back from contracted awareness to wide open awareness through that movement of Om. Om. So it's rising and opening up, both. Rising and opening. So pranavādayaha pranava prakaraha adi shabdaha prakari. So the word here adi means the different sorts of pranava there is. And the commentator reminds us of the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, tasya vācakaha pranavaha. So the word that expresses the absolute, pure awareness, uncontracted, full awareness is pranava, is Om, or whatever of its variations. So, of course, there are many symbolism attached to that pranava, to that om. Om can mean the three states, the subject, the object, and the relationship between them, etc. The three powers of desire, perception, and activity, and so on. But here is not very, very useful to know about those. And so we can move on to the next verse, which is the same practice basically, with just one important thing added. So let's see what it is. First in Sanskrit. Om yasya kasyāpi varṇasya pūrvāntāv anubhāvayet śūnyayā śūnyabhūto sau śūnyākāraḥ pumān bhavet. One shall become the person, literally, pumān. It's a word that comes from the Upanishad, and taken up by the Sankhya philosophy. It means something like pure, free consciousness. Śūnyākāraḥ. And that person that we really are is śūnyākāraḥ, whose form is empty, empty of all content, of all particular content, of all particular movement and vibration. Vishesh spanda. And one shall become empty, śūnyabhūto sau. How? Śūnyayā, by the empty, by she who is empty. So śūnyanugataya, by the shakti. So it's here śūnyayā is śūnyayā, śaktyā, by the empty power, which is, the commentator Shivopadhyaya tells us, at the end, which is following any mantra, any sound that we might vibrate, elevate. Again, the word uchara. But here he shall or she shall experience anubhāvayet pūrvāntāv, the beginning or the end, not only the end, like in the previous verse, in the previous practice, but also purva, before, the beginning, the origin. And here Shivopadhyaya explains to us that the end means virama, the ending, the cessation of the sound, like in the previous practice, but what means the beginning, experiencing the beginning of the mantra, of any syllable, in fact. Yasya, kasyāpi, varṇasya, any sound. Here the beginning means uchara means the desire to spell out, the desire to sound that syllable, the desire to sound that sound, uchara. And this is very, very, very important, because this is the key teaching proper to Kashmir Shaivism, to non-dual Shaiva Tantricism. This is really the teaching, the key point of practice that we find only, to my knowledge, that we find only in non-dual Tantricism and nowhere else. So, uchara yisha viramau, in the beginning, means in the desire to sound that sound, or in the cessation of that sound. One should experience those emptinesses, and through the power of those empty moments, one shall become empty, that is pure awareness, awareness empty of any content, that is free emptiness, a free awareness, an awareness which is no longer a slave to the particular movements of attention. And that is why, again, in Kashmir Shaivism, it is very important to meditate, to contemplate with the five senses wide open, the eyes, the ears, etc., wide open. And this is called Shiva Mudra, Bhairava Mudra, about which we shall see more later on in that very same Shivopanishad, secret teaching of Shiva, that is the Vijnana Bhairava tantra. So the practice here is very simple. We can put our attention on this sound ending, like Om, or we can put our attention at the beginning of the sound, which is new. So what does that mean? It means we can sound that mantra with just the mind, and we try to go back and to stop just at the rising of the sound, at the very instant when one moves from not sounding the mantra to sounding the mantra, and feel the rising of the movement. And if that seems difficult to you, but I'll come back to that later on, you can use a sound which cannot be fully pronounced. And like that, the upsurge, the underground, the upsurge at the background of it shall become more obvious. So you can use a sound which in Sanskrit is called anachka, that is a sound without a vowel, like ka, but ka without a. And like that, your movement will become blocked just at the start of it, because you cannot really say it, you cannot really spell it out, because there is no vowel, so there is the sound is somehow blocked, and so you will remain in pure movement, and that pure movement is samanya spanda, is universal consciousness, full awareness, awareness rich of all possibilities, consciousness as rising before it becomes differentiated into different waves of this and that perception, of this and that word with this and that meaning. Just the pure movement, the universal movement at the root of all special particular movements. And this is very, very important. This is to discover the pure bliss that is our real true nature. And this is really the secret of non-dual tantricism. If you get that, you get bliss anywhere, anytime. And this is the soul, the very soul of inner life, of the spiritual path. This is really the heart of all. The heart of all is consciousness, and the heart of consciousness is that inner movement, that inner vibration, which is pure bliss, the pure bliss of feeling one with all possibilities and feeling at the same time free from all possibilities. That's really the key of inner life, and this is the special point unique to Kashmir Shaivism. So that was the second practice of dwelling on the beginning or end of any sound. And the commentary by Ananda here on that verse is very different. He takes pūrvāntāv as meaning from the beginning to the end of learning of Om or learning of Sanskrit or learning of any language. From the first stages of learning, when it is completely instinctive, we just the child or the learner just relies on his own innate capacity, intelligence, linguistic intelligence to learn his or her mother tongue, for example, to the end when there is a complete mastery, when the artificial conventions of the tongue have become instinctual, so to speak, when they are completely samskritya, when they have been completely perfected and integrated. So it's from the innate to the innate, and in between there is the integration of conventions, and this works as a paradigm for all processes of learning and integration in life. But I shall say no more about that, because this is an interpretation which is quite far from the intention of the verse, I believe. And enough for today. So that's it for today. We have the practice of paying attention to the end of any sound, riding on any sound to go back to pure, silent, empty awareness, and also a first hint at plunging our attention on the desire, the precognitive intent, as Professor Sanderson calls it, the beginning of any movement. Really, that's the heart, the key, the most precious treasury of Kashmir Shaivism. But this is just a first hint at it. We will come back to it later on, in more details. And as I think that maybe that key point is not really stated clearly enough in that Vijnana Bhairava, but it is rather stated in more details elsewhere in Kashmir Shaiva teachings. I will come back to that later on, when I will share a series of videos about the key teachings of Kashmir Shaivism, really the heart of it. And no theory, but just the key points of practice of Kashmir Shaivism. So that's it for today. That's all for today. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.